Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Sternberg. Um, Welcome to MDLP. I'm going to be your history teacher for this course. I wanted to make a video because online learning can be kind of impersonal. It's just messages being sent back and forth essentially. So I wanted you guys to have a face and a voice behind the messages and see that I'm actually a real human being, and not just a response from a bot or something. So a little bit about me, and I have it in my message there, but here's a picture of our most recent trip to Disneyland. So I normally teach at Mesa High School, where I teach world history and AP psychology. I also am assistant track coach there. Spare time basically just spent kind of shuttling my kids back and forth to various activities and so on. I also do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is why I now permanently sound like this. So that's just a little bit about me. Feel free if you're starting to tell me a little bit something about yourself, so we can kind of get to know one another and make the experience a little more kind of human, our interaction back and forth with one another. So I just want to go over a couple rules and a couple helpful tips for you to move forward and not make this video too long for you to watch. So be familiar with the classroom procedures. You're kind of on your own. You're not on your own, but this is a self-paced. You're kind of going through the lesson at your own whim. So it's important that you know what the procedures are. But I am always here for you. So if you have any questions, ask them anytime. I'll get back to them as quickly as I can, always within 24 hours, usually quicker than that. But always feel free to ask any questions. Just a couple things that come up from time to time. These tests are closed notes. All right. Before you begin a test, make sure you log out of all additional lessons. Make sure you log out of other devices, because this happens sometimes. If you're studying on your cell phone or whatever, and you take your test on a desktop, we actually have a system that records if your course activity. So if you're in a test and you go to a lesson while the test is open, then it will flag that and we'll see it, and it basically will come back as a possible infraction for academic misconduct. And I'll investigate that, and sometimes kids like, hey, like I was studying on my cell phone and I left the lessons open, but I came and I wasn't looking at it. That can happen. So make sure you're logged out of all devices, and then you go in, you take your test, do your best, so they are closed notes. So make sure you're not using outside resources on these tests. And you are allowed retakes. So if you, in fact, retakes are required if you score less than 70%. So, do your best, and if you struggled, we'll work on that. We'll kind of see what you could maybe do better to study, and we'll work our way through that. But just make sure you're not looking at outside sources while taking the test. Second thing that comes up and can kind of get the hang of it is, so as you go through your lessons, you'll have these blue buttons to click on. They're your study notes. Okay, and before you take a test, and I'll actually show you the screen, there's a Unit 1 test or Unit 2 or whatever, in whatever class you're doing, because I teach a bunch of them. You'll go in here, and then there'll be this blue button that says Submit and Review Your Questions. Okay, if you look at the portfolio, there'll be a little assignment that says Study Notes. This is how you submit that. So if you click on it, and I can't show you because I don't have like an actual thing done. But if you click on it, it will populate a study guide for you. That's all the different study notes that you answered. So it should, hopefully, if you went through the lessons as you should and completed all the study notes as you should, it should be totally filled out and done. And then when that happens, it automatically submits it. Okay? If you click on that button and you have a study guide that says like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, that means you missed one of the study notes. It probably means that you just forgot to hit the save button, which happens. So you filled it out, you forgot to save it, and you kind of moved on. You just need to go back and make sure those are done. Okay? The study guide won't submit until it's all finished. So if you're missing one, it won't let you go on to the test. And when you especially first start out, that can be kind of confusing as what you're doing wrong. So click on it, look through the study guide. It's just, 1 through whatever it is, and then it should automatically submit. If it's not, go back, look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Oh, I missed 6. Go back and do it, and then click the button again, and you should be fine. And if there's any issues there, just let me know, and we'll figure it out together. And then some helpful tips for you. The biggest thing I can tell you: keep a steady pace. Okay, the big advantage of online, taking class online, is flexibility. You can do your class when you want, when you have time. If you have a busy schedule, you're doing a bunch of sports or activities or music or all three of them. You can kind of do the class when you can. And there are due dates on your assignments, but those are just kind of suggestions. If you don't complete an assignment by the due date, it will go in as a 0. But once you complete the assignment, then it will, when I grade it, then the new grade will go in and place it. So there's no permanent penalty for being late. But the biggest reason for kids not succeeding in online school is they don't do the class for whatever reason for a prolonged period of time, and now they're getting toward the end and they're missing 10 assignments, and now they're trying to rush through the lessons, and they're stressed and their work isn't very good, and it's kind of a downward spiral from there. So keep a steady pace. Don't log in every day and spend 6 hours doing it. That's not good learning practice. But log in every day for 20, 30 minutes. Log in, do a lesson, make sure you do a good job, and then do the next day. Log in, do a lesson, do the activity there, and then so on. Okay, maybe you skip a Friday and you do a couple things on Saturday. That's kind of your option. But just keep a steady pace. If you move through it in a steady pace, you're on target. You're not forgetting. You do Unit 1 and then wait 2 months, and then you finish the class, and now you're taking your final, and you've completely forgotten everything from Unit 1 because it was so long ago and there was such a big gap. So it's just better all around. So that's the biggest tip I could provide is just make sure you're moving along at a steady pace. You have flexibility. If hey, I'm going to have Saturday open, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are really busy for me, and that's fine. Get caught up on Saturday, get a little bit ahead of Saturday, so then you can catch up. That's up to you, but just make sure you keep a steady pace. And kind of as part of that, go slow to go fast. So I already mentioned earlier, if you score below a 70%, you will be required to retake that test until you get above 70%. If you perform poorly on an assignment, I'm probably going to ask you to go back and redo it. It doesn't be perfect, I'm not expecting that, but if it's clearly not good quality, I'm going to ask you to go back. So go slow to go fast. Take your time. Go through a unit. Read it carefully. I'll go to the next one along with it. Take notes as you read. Some of you may have already developed this strategy. Some of you, maybe you haven't had to do that previously. Take notes as you read. It's a good habit, and it will help you all throughout school and then through life. Take notes. If you're just passively reading something, you're not really paying attention probably. You're probably thinking about something else. You got to focus in, and notes help you do that. So read through it, take good notes. This is a good skill to have for your entire life. Okay? And that takes a little bit more time to go through and take good notes, a little bit longer than if you just kind of read through it. But now you hopefully have understood it. Now you've paid more attention to it. Now you have notes to go back and check afterwards, so you don't have to reread the entire thing all over again. So it's better to take your time and do it correctly and do a good job the first time. So now you do the assignment, you do great, you can move on. You do the assignment, you do great, you can move on. You do the test, you did great, you can move on. Versus, and this usually is a chain of events. You You kind of slack off a little bit or get behind for whatever reason. It might be legitimate, but you get behind. Now you have to rush. You read through a unit real quick. You don't really understand it, but you got to keep moving. You take that test and you bomb it, and you're going to have to retake it again. And now it's like, oh no. And now you have to go back and reread the information again and then take it again. And, again, it's that kind of downward spiral. So if you keep a good pace, you go through it, you take your time, you do a good job, you can just move on and just keep on clicking right through the course. It's easier, it's less stressful, and you learn more. So it's a win-win situation. Like I said, I teach AP psychology. Your brain learns better when you space things out. That's proven through research. So do a little bit today, a little bit the next day. And this is true of all your classes, by the way, not just online. But it's always better study more often for shorter periods of time is always more effective than trying to do a whole bunch more. Your brain can't hold that much short-term information at a time. So, and then after you've taken good notes, hopefully, actively study them. Okay? If all you do is you have your notes and you read through them, again, it's the same thing. If all you're doing is passively reading, your brain is not engaged. So take your notes every so often and study them. And there's a lot of different effective ways. Hopefully you've already found some, but you can make note summaries. So you write down your notes and then you put them aside. Then 2 days later, you take out those notes and you read it through it again. And you write a summary of it at the bottom. What's the most important information from your notes? Okay, your brain's actively engaged. You're writing stuff out. Okay, you can make graphic organizers. You can make note cards, either digitally or like the good old-fashioned just note cards. And then have someone else quiz you. Again, don't just read through the cards yourself because you're not really engaging your brain. Have someone else quiz you because then you're kind of on your own and you actually have to think about it. Okay? So yeah, those are just some helpful tips for you to move forward. Again, make sure you're kind of staying on pace and going so it slow but steady progress and making sure you're doing a good job, because that will actually make you go fast in the long run. Okay, so again, I'm Mr. Sternberg. Please, always feel free to email me if you have any questions or comments or anything. And I look forward to communicating with you through this class.